The Soviet Union finished first in the gold medal count at 6 out of 9 Summer Olympics between 1952 and 1988. Over 1,000 Olympic medals total. And while most people talk about their physical training, almost nobody talks about the one thing their coaches considered more important than anything else: self-control. Not the just resist temptation kind, a specific, trainable system that turned ordinary people into mentally unbreakable performers. I'm going to show you the 3 methods they used to build it. Plus, I'm going to give you a bonus technique from Soviet psychological research that I didn't expect to work as well as it does. Here's the thing. Most people think self-control is like a battery. You wake up with a full charge and every hard decision drains it. By the evening, you're running on empty, and that's when you eat the junk food, skip the work, scroll for 2 hours, whatever your version is. But Soviet sports psychologists figured out something different. They realized self-control isn't a battery, it's a skill. Like throwing a ball, like playing chess. And if it's a skill, that means you can train it. The question is, how did they train it? What exactly did they make their athletes do every day? And why does the method still work even if you've never touched a sport in your life? A man named Avsenty Puni is where this starts. Puni founded the first sports psychology department in the Soviet Union at the Leskaft Institute in Leningrad in 1946. He trained Soviet Olympic teams for decades after that. He built a system called Boyevaya Gotovnost, which roughly translates to readiness to fight. And the 5th and final pillar of that system was self-control. But Puni didn't mean self-control the way you probably think of it. He didn't mean try harder or be more disciplined. He meant something very specific. He meant the ability to direct your own thoughts, emotions, and actions using deliberate internal commands. In other words, you literally talk yourself through the moment of decision, not in a vague motivational way, in a precise, pre-scripted way. Think about it like this. When you're learning to drive, your instructor doesn't say, just feel the road. They give you exact steps. Check mirrors, signal, look over your shoulder, turn the wheel. You follow these steps consciously until they become automatic. Puni treated self-control the exact same way. You give yourself specific verbal commands at specific moments until the response becomes automatic. A colleague of Puni's named Arkady Filatov developed this into a full system in the 1970s. Filatov headed the School of Psychotherapy, Psychoprophylaxis, and Mental Hygiene at the Ukrainian Institute for Advanced Training of Physicians. He originally built the system for Soviet cycling teams, but it spread to every sport within a few years. He called it Emotional Volitional Training, or EVT, and the core of it was something called autosuggestion formulas. These are exact sentences you say to yourself, silently, in a specific order, at specific times. Here's where it gets really interesting. Filatov didn't just say, think positive thoughts. He designed formulas that described physiological processes happening in your body. One of his relaxation formulas went like this: I am calm. My muscles are relaxing. Calmness spreads through my nervous system. I feel warmth and heaviness in my body. That might sound simple, but the idea was that by describing the process of calming down in precise physical terms, your brain actually starts producing that state. Your blood vessels widen, your heart rate drops. It's not magic. It's the same reason your mouth waters when you imagine biting into a lemon. Your brain responds to vivid internal language as if it were real. For you, this means something very practical. Tonight, before you go to sleep, you're going to do this. Lie down. Close your eyes and slowly say these 4 sentences to yourself, silently. My arms are heavy and warm. My breathing is slow and steady. My heartbeat is calm. My forehead is cool. Say each sentence twice, slowly. The whole thing takes about 90 seconds. That's it. Do this every night for 7 days straight. By day 4 or 5, you'll notice you fall asleep faster. By the end of the week, your body will start responding to the first sentence alone. You're training a trigger, and that trigger is the foundation for everything else. I know what you're thinking right now. That's just breathing exercises with extra steps. That's you. That's what you sound like. But here's the difference. Breathing exercises calm your body. Auto-suggestion formulas calm your body and reprogram your response pattern. Filatov tested this with the Soviet National Parachute Team in 1983 alongside a researcher named Bondarchuk. These were elite parachutists, people who jump out of planes for a living. After adding EVT to their standard training, the team won the Soviet Spartakiad and took medals at the World Championships. These were people who already had incredible physical skills. The only thing that changed was the mental training. But this was only half of the picture, because calming down is just step one. The real power of the Soviet system was step two, pre-programming your decisions. This comes from a different branch of Soviet psychology. A psychologist named Lev Vygotsky laid the groundwork for this in the 1930s, and his student Alexander Luria expanded on it through experiments in the late 1940s and 1950s. They found that human beings regulate their behavior primarily through language, not through willpower, not through motivation, through actual words. When you're a kid, your parents give you verbal commands. Don't touch that. Wait your turn. Over time, you start giving those commands to yourself, out loud at first, then silently. That internal voice, that inner speech, is your primary self-control tool. Luria ran experiments showing that when you interfere with someone's ability to use inner speech, their ability to plan, stay on task, and control impulses drops significantly. Think about it like this. Your inner speech is like the operating system on a computer. The apps are your habits, your goals, your daily tasks. But if the operating system is buggy, nothing runs right. The Soviet coaches realized that most people's inner speech is random, reactive, and mostly negative. I don't feel like it. This is too hard. I'll do it later. And every time you say one of those phrases internally, it functions as a command. Your brain obeys it. Here's what that means for you. The second technique is this. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you do anything else, you're going to write down 3 if-then commands. Not goals, not affirmations, commands. The format is when, specific trigger, I will, specific action. For example, when I sit down at my desk, I will work on the hardest task for 25 minutes before anything else. Or, when I feel the urge to open social media, I will take 3 breaths and say, not now, once. Or, when I finish dinner, I will spend 10 minutes reviewing what I learned today. Write them on a piece of paper, read them out loud once, then put the paper where you'll see it. Carry it in your pocket if you have to. Now, you might think this sounds too simple. 3 sentences on a piece of paper? That's your big Soviet secret? But here's what the research shows. A psychologist named Peter Gollwitzer ran a meta-analysis with Pascal Sheeran in 2006, covering 94 independent studies and over 8,000 participants. He found that people who used specific if-then plans were significantly more likely to follow through on their goals than people who just had the intention. Not a little more likely. The effect size was medium to large, and the mechanism is exactly what Luria described decades earlier. You're giving your brain a preloaded command. When the trigger happens, the response fires automatically. You took the decision out of the moment. You made it in advance, when you were calm and clear. And that's exactly why it works. I know this is a lot, and if you're feeling like you need to re-watch this part, do it. Grab a pen and take notes. But let me give you one more piece before the bonus, because this is where the system comes together. The third method is what Filatov's athletes called self-order formulas. These are different from the relaxation formulas I showed you earlier. These are short, direct commands you use in the moment of pressure. Not before, not after, during. When Soviet athletes were about to compete, they would silently repeat one specific phrase that was designed for their weak point. If an athlete tended to rush under pressure, their formula might be, I am steady. Every movement is precise. If they tended to freeze, it might be, I am ready. I act now. The formula is always short, always present tense, always about what you do, never about what you avoid. And there's a reason for that last part. A psychologist named Daniel Wegner showed in 1987 that when you tell yourself, don't think about something, your brain actually monitors for that exact thing, making you more likely to think about it. He called it ironic process theory. So I don't procrastinate forces your brain to think about procrastinating. "I start immediately" points your brain directly at the action. Soviet sports psychologists understood this principle intuitively. Their formulas were always positive, always action-oriented. For you, this means identifying your one biggest self-control problem right now. Just one. Maybe it's procrastination. Maybe it's losing your temper. Maybe it's caving to distractions. Whatever it is, you're going to build a self-order formula for it. Here's how. First, identify the exact moment you tend to fail. Not the general habit, the moment. For procrastination, it might be the moment you sit down and feel resistance. For anger, it might be the moment someone says something that triggers you. Second, write a command that's 5 to 8 words, present tense, about what you do. Not what you don't do. "I start immediately" works. "I don't procrastinate" doesn't. "I speak calmly and clearly" works. "I don't lose my temper" doesn't. Third, rehearse this formula 5 times tonight, out loud. Then use it silently at the moment of pressure tomorrow. It will feel strange at first. By the end of the first week, it will feel like a reflex. Now, here's the part I saved for last. I promised you a bonus technique, and this one honestly surprised me. Soviet psychologists working with cosmonauts and submarine crews noticed something important about self-control failures. They almost never happened all at once. They built up slowly. A cosmonaut wouldn't suddenly snap on day 40 of a mission. Small signs would appear days earlier. Slight irritability, shorter responses to mission control, longer pauses before starting tasks. The problem was, the person experiencing this didn't notice it. By the time they noticed, the situation had already gotten bad. So the Soviets built structured self-assessment into their psychological training. Cosmonauts were trained to regularly pause and check their own internal state. Not in a vague, "how am I feeling" way, in a specific 3-question format. What am I feeling right now? Is this feeling helping or hurting my current task? What do I need to adjust? The whole check takes about 60 seconds. For you, here's exactly what you're going to do for the next 2 weeks. Set 3 alarms on your phone, morning, midday, and evening. When the alarm goes off, take 60 seconds. Ask yourself those 3 questions. What am I feeling right now? Is this helping or hurting what I need to do? What's my next move? You don't need to write the answers down, just answer them honestly in your head. By the end of 2 weeks, you'll start noticing patterns you never saw before. You'll catch yourself drifting before it costs you an hour. You'll notice emotions building before they take over. It sounds almost too simple to work. But catching a problem early, before it builds momentum, is far easier than trying to stop it once it's already rolling. During your next 60-second check-in, while you're at it, picture yourself pressing that subscribe button. See it clearly, hear the click. So let me bring this together. Tonight, you do the 4-sentence relaxation formula before bed, 90 seconds. Tomorrow morning, you write 3 if-then commands and read them out loud once, 2 minutes. Then you set your 3 daily check-in alarms, 1 minute each time they go off. And this week, you build one self-order formula for your biggest weak point and start using it at the moment of pressure. That's the whole system. It's not complicated, it's just specific. And that's exactly how the Soviets designed it. Try the relaxation formula tonight and tell me in the comments how fast you fell asleep. I want an actual number, minutes. The Soviets also had a method for building unbreakable focus that they used in their chess training programs. Some of the greatest players in history came out of that system. Click the video on the screen to see how it works. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.